There's Rachel right there. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Doing fantastic. How are you doing, James?
Well, I'm just fine. You look rather summer-like.
I'm ready for summer. I'm so ready. It's like 45 degrees here now. It's a heat wave.
Oh, okay. Well, you look as though the sun was out. I mean, you don't have a big coat on or a sweater or a scarf.
Or a scarf. I'm ready. I'm done. I'm boycotting coats. Not really.
Okay, we're pretty excited about the bill. It has to do with the elimination of destroying confiscated guns. Where is that taking place?
That is in my home state of Tennessee, and that bill has passed unanimously out of the Tennessee State Senate and is now headed to Governor Bredeson's desk. This is fantastic news. What this bill would do is prohibit the destruction of confiscated firearms, and they would now be required to be sold by law enforcement or auctioned off to federally licensed firearms dealers. And this is great news. And now all of those proceeds that are raised after selling these firearms to dealers will go to law enforcement activities. So we're better using our resources, our law enforcement resources, and now law enforcement gets a benefit from this as well. This is great news because we hear a lot of times some gun control schemes like gun buybacks and things like that, which do nothing to reduce crime, and it does nothing to get crime guns off the streets. But now any confiscated firearm can be sold or auctioned off to dealers. So this is great news, and now the law enforcement can get some money from that because we all know that our law enforcement agencies are in dire need of more avenues for money to come in, so they're better funded.
Yeah, you know, it makes so much sense. Every time I see those pictures, and we rolled one earlier in the introduction, where they're cutting up guns or they're taking them out and I go, look at some of those guns. I mean, my God, those are irreplaceable. So it always upset me whenever I saw those, although I do have to go one step further and say that I was wondering how they were going to dispose of those weapons, and if they're turning them back in and basically raising funds through the sale of those. Hey, that's the American way. I have no problem with that whatsoever. That's a great idea.
Absolutely, and I applaud the Tennessee State Legislature for pushing this bill through, and now I think everyone who is a Tennessee resident or just has a passion for this kind of thing to contact the governor's office, Phil Bredesen, and let him know that they encourage him to sign this bill into law. So that's something really exciting, and I'd like to applaud my state legislature as well.
Yes, and I'll bet you and the NRA had something to do with that as well.
Well, we definitely have lobbyists who work every day at the Capitol, so in every state, but particularly I like to watch Tennessee.
Yeah, okay, come on, Rachel. They know that that's your home state. Now, they know.
I certainly hope so.
Okay, now there's another bill out there, and let me look here. I forget what the bill number is, but there's a bill out there that pertains to changing the Emergency Powers Act, and I believe it was Indiana. I'm not sure now. And right, and that was based upon the catastrophe that basically took place during Hurricane Katrina, correct?
That's right, and we all remember the devastation of Hurricane Katrina, and in a time when law enforcement was overworked, there was no 911. Law-abiding folks, the only way they had to defend themselves from looters and thugs was to protect themselves with a firearm, and the mayor had law enforcement go door-to-door confiscating firearms. Now we say that this could never happen in America, but after Hurricane Katrina, it did happen in the United States. And so President Bush signed an emergency powers bill into law shortly after that happened. And now we are going state to state to make sure that that state law also backs up this notion that the government cannot confiscate your firearms in the state of an emergency. And so this is so important, and we're so glad that Indiana is jumping on board with this emergency powers bill. But also a good thing about this bill is tacked onto this bill is also the parking lots bill. And that would prohibit employers from prohibiting lawful, law-abiding employees from keeping firearms safely locked in their cars while on employee parking lots. This piece of legislation has been a legislative priority for the National Rifle Association for several years. So we're hoping that states will jump on board with this one as well to make sure that folks know your commute doesn't begin and end with your work day 9 to 5 or whatever shift work you may work. You need to be able to protect yourself to and from work while running errands and living your daily life. So this is something that is very important to the National Rifle Association, and this bill is also tacked on to the Emergency Powers Bill. Now, what is going on with this is it passed the Indiana Senate with a vote of 41 to 9, and it will now go back to the House for concurrence.
Right, very good. Just backing up just a minute, though, I know that we all remember those terrible, terrible pictures of law enforcement dragging that grandmother out of her house.
Poor lady.
I mean, and I can remember as I think Dave Butts is actually running for directorship with the NRA right now, but Dave and I were discussing that in San Antonio a couple of years ago, and you know, those were horrible, horrible pictures, and I think this goes a long way of correcting what's taking place out there.
It does. It's something that's important in every state. While we have a federal law, we would like to back it up with state law so there's no confusion.
Okay. Hey, Rachel, thank you very much for that update, and we'll see you again next week with some more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I just want to remind people that oral arguments for McDonnell versus City of Chicago is Tuesday, March 2nd.
Yeah, that's right. Wait. But also, don't you have a convention coming up?
We do have a convention coming up, and it's May 14th through 16th in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we'll start reminding folks of that now. So
okay.
Thank you for reminding me.
Okay, next week we'll go into it a little more.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye, Rachel. Thank you.
Bye.